In a quiet village at the edge of a wide valley, there lived a poor boy named Amir. He lived with his father, mother, and little sister in a small clay house. Their house had no fancy doors or windows, but it was clean and warm. Amir's family did not have much money. They had no gold coins or large fields. They ate simple food and wore simple clothes. Despite the struggles, Amir was happy because he had his family and he loved them very much. Amir woke up early every day. Before the sun rose, he would help his father in the fields. They grew wheat and vegetables, but the soil was not always good, and the crops did not always grow well. Amir worked hard to help his family. After working in the field, he would go to the river to bring water for his mother. He would carry large pots filled with water and balance them carefully so they would not fall. Even though it was hard work, Amir never complained. He believed that every small effort mattered. The villagers often said that Amir was brave and kind. He would help anyone who needed it, even if it meant he had less for himself. Sometimes he helped his neighbors carry heavy loads, and sometimes he shared the little food he had. His mother often told him, "Amir, your heart is more valuable than all the gold in the world." Amir would smile and nod, but he never thought about wealth. His happiness came from helping others and seeing smiles on people's faces. Not far from the village lived a rich man named Mr. Karim. He owned large lands, many houses, and more horses than anyone could count. His horses were strong, fast, and shining. Some villagers said that Mr. Karim's horses could run faster than the wind. Mr. Karim was known to be strict. He was proud of his wealth and often looked down on poor people. Many villagers were afraid of him, but they also respected him because he was powerful. One sunny morning, Mr. Karim announced that he would host a small event at his farm. He wanted to show his horses to the villagers and give one horse to someone in the village. Excitement spread quickly. Everyone wanted to see the horses, and many were curious about who would receive one. Amir's mother said, "Amir, you may go, but remember, don't expect too much. The horses belong to Mr. Karim." Amir nodded. He was curious, but he did not expect anything for himself. When Amir reached the farm, he saw rows of horses. Some were tall, with golden coats that shined under the sun. Their muscles were strong, and their eyes were bright. Villagers admired them and whispered to each other about which horse they wanted. But at the back of the stable, Amir noticed a horse that was very different. It was thin and small. Its coat was dark, dull, and had several scars. The horse looked tired and weak. Some villagers laughed when they saw it. Mr. Karim called out, "This horse is mine, but I am giving it to someone who is brave enough to take it. Be careful, for this horse is not easy to handle." The villagers laughed again. They could not imagine why anyone would want that horse. They thought it was useless and that no one would choose it. Some even whispered that the boy who took it would be foolish. Amir looked at the horse carefully. He saw the way it lifted its head slowly and how its eyes seemed gentle. He saw no weakness in the horse's spirit, only a tired body. Amir quietly stepped forward. He did not laugh or hesitate. "I will take it, sir," he said softly. The villagers were shocked. How could anyone be happy with such a horse? Mr. Karim smirked. He had expected no one to choose it. He handed the horse to Amir and said, "We shall see if your courage matches your words." Amir thanked Mr. Karim politely. He did not feel proud or sad. He simply felt that this horse deserved care and a chance. Amir walked home slowly, holding the horse's reins. He looked at the horse closely. "Don't worry," he whispered. "I will take care of you." He noticed that the horse's movements were slow and awkward. Its legs seemed weak, and it could barely trot without stumbling. But Amir did not see this as a problem. He believed that with patience and care, the horse could grow strong again. Amir's neighbors watched him and laughed quietly. "Why does he waste his time on that horse?" they asked. "It is thin, weak, and old." Amir could have asked for a better horse. Amir smiled but said nothing. He had learned long ago that listening to negative words never helped anyone. At home, Amir gave the horse water and some fresh grass. He carefully brushed its coat, removing dirt and old hay. He saw small cuts and scars and cleaned them gently. The horse shivered but did not resist. Amir talked to it calmly. "I will help you, and you will help me too. We will be friends." The horse slowly lowered its head, as if understanding Amir's words. That night, Amir slept lightly, listening to the horse breathe quietly outside his window. He thought about how strange it was that the richest man in the village had given him the weakest horse. Many people would have been upset. But Amir felt calm. He knew that sometimes what appears weak or useless can have hidden strength. He felt a small hope in his heart, a hope that this horse could change his life. The next morning, Amir fed the horse again. He gave it water, fresh hay, and some sugar cubes he had saved. He walked the horse slowly around the village. Children ran to see it. Some laughed at the horse's slow movements, but Amir only smiled. He knew the horse had courage and patience, which were more important than speed. As days passed, Amir began to understand Shadow, the horse's new name. He noticed small things, the horse's careful steps, its gentle eyes, and its loyalty. Amir realized that this horse, though weak at first glance, could become strong with love and care. He promised himself that he would never give up on Shadow, no matter what others said. From that moment, Amir and Shadow began their quiet journey together. The villagers continued to watch and whisper, but Amir did not mind. He knew that the greatest rewards often came to those who believed in the unseen strength within others. And deep inside, he felt that Shadow and he were about to face challenges that would surprise everyone, including Mr. Kareem. Days passed, and Amir continued to care for Shadow with patience and love. Every morning, he would wake up early, feed the horse, and brush its coat until it shined. Shadow was still small and weak, but Amir noticed small changes. The horse's steps became steadier, and its eyes seemed brighter. Amir spoke to Shadow softly as he worked. "You are brave, Shadow. I know one day, everyone will see your true strength." Shadow would sometimes nuzzle Amir's shoulder, as if agreeing. The villagers watched Amir and the horse quietly. Some still whispered, "That horse will never run fast. Amir is wasting his time." Others, however, began to notice Shadow's loyalty. When Amir worked in the fields, Shadow stayed close, moving carefully so as not to step on the crops. He seemed to understand Amir's instructions without anyone speaking. The villagers could not explain it, but the horse was different from any they had seen before. One afternoon, Amir's mother asked him to help his sister, Layla, gather firewood from the small forest near the river. The sky was bright, and the wind was gentle. As they walked toward the forest, Amir noticed dark clouds forming in the distance. A storm was coming. He looked at the river and saw that it was already rising slowly. "Layla, hurry," Amir said. "We need to collect the wood and return before the rain comes." They had not gone far when the first drops fell. The rain quickly became heavier, and the wind blew strongly. Layla's small arms could not carry enough wood to get home quickly. Amir realized that if they stayed outside too long, the river could rise more and become dangerous. He turned to Shadow, who was waiting patiently nearby. "Shadow, we need to go now," Amir said urgently. The horse, sensing the urgency in Amir's voice, stepped forward calmly. Amir climbed onto Shadow's back, and Layla held onto Amir's arm. Shadow moved carefully at first, but then he began to trot steadily. The river had begun to swell, and the path was muddy and slippery. Many villagers were watching from their windows and shaking their heads. They thought Shadow was too weak to carry Amir safely through the rising water. As Shadow approached the riverbank, Amir held tightly to the reins and whispered, "You can do this, Shadow. Be brave." Shadow's hooves splashed into the water, and the current tugged at them. Amir could feel the danger, but he trusted Shadow completely. The horse lifted his legs high, moving step by step, and never slipped. Layla held on tightly, and Amir encouraged her, "Do not be afraid. Shadow will take us safely." The villagers could hardly believe their eyes. Shadow, the horse they had laughed at for being weak, was moving steadily through the dangerous water. Every step was careful but strong. Within minutes, they reached the other side of the river safely. Amir guided Shadow to a small hill where the wind and rain were less strong. He looked at the horse and smiled. "See, Shadow? You are stronger than anyone thought." Layla hugged Shadow's neck, and Amir patted him gently. The villagers who had gathered at a distance began to whisper, "That horse, it is amazing." Amir was right. It is brave and smart. From that day on, Shadow's reputation began to change in the village. People realized that even the horse that appeared weak could be courageous and loyal. The next morning, Amir continued his work as usual. He fed Shadow, cleaned the stable, and walked him around the fields. Shadow was now more confident, and Amir could see a spark of energy in him. Amir's neighbors started coming to watch. Some of them had never seen a horse behave with such intelligence. They noticed how Shadow obeyed Amir's commands, how he avoided harming the crops, and how he seemed to understand simple gestures and words. One day, Amir decided to take Shadow to the larger fields near the forest to help plow. Many villagers laughed again. "That horse is too weak for plowing," they said. "You will tire yourself for nothing." Amir did not answer. He knew that Shadow had courage, patience, and determination. These qualities were far more important than appearance. As Amir attached the plow to Shadow and started guiding him, the horse moved steadily. At first, the plow was heavy, and Shadow struggled slightly. But Amir encouraged him, "You can do it, Shadow. Step by step." Shadow's legs worked carefully, and soon, the soil began to turn. Villagers came to see, and their eyes widened in surprise. The horse that was once thought to be useless was now working harder than anyone expected. Amir smiled quietly. He had always known that Shadow had hidden strength. In the evening, Amir returned home, and Shadow looked tired but happy. Amir fed him fresh water and hay, brushing his coat gently. Shadow nuzzled Amir's hand, showing gratitude. Amir's mother looked at the horse and said, "Amir, I think Shadow was always special. You only needed to give him a chance." Amir nodded. He knew that kindness and care could bring out the best in anyone, even a horse. That night, Amir thought about the rich man, Mr. Karim. The man had given him the worst horse in the village, thinking it would be a burden. Amir smiled to himself. Shadow was no burden. Shadow was a gift that would teach him patience, courage, and trust. Amir felt grateful for this opportunity, even though he had not understood it at first. The next morning, news came from the far end of the village. Smoke was rising from a small farm near the hills. A fire had started, and it was spreading quickly. Many villagers ran to help, but the wind made the fire dangerous. Amir knew he had to act fast. He looked at Shadow, who was ready to move. "We must go, Shadow. People need our help," Amir said. The horse neighed softly, as if understanding Amir's words. Amir climbed onto Shadow's back, and together, they ran toward the fire. The villagers were amazed. Shadow moved faster than anyone had expected. Step by step, he carried Amir safely across uneven paths, through mud, and over small streams. Amir shouted instructions to the villagers, telling them where to place water and how to save animals trapped in nearby barns. By the time they reached the farm, the fire had grown, but thanks to Amir and Shadow's quick arrival, they were able to save many crops and animals. The villagers watched in awe as Amir guided Shadow skillfully. They realized that the horse they had laughed at was not weak at all. Shadow had courage, intelligence, and loyalty that no one had imagined. After the fire was under control, Amir patted Shadow's neck. "Well done, Shadow. You are not just a horse. You are a hero," he said. The villagers gathered around and whispered to each other. Their respect for Amir and his horse grew. Shadow was no longer the worst horse in the village. He was a symbol of bravery and loyalty, and everyone understood that appearances could be deceiving. That night, Amir fed Shadow and placed him carefully in the stable. He looked at the sky and smiled. He knew that this was only the beginning. Shadow had shown his hidden strength, but together they would face more challenges and surprises. Amir felt a deep sense of pride and happiness. He had not only gained a loyal horse but also a true friend who would stand by him in every difficulty. After the fire at the farm, Amir and Shadow became known throughout the village as a brave and loyal team. People began to respect the boy and the horse more than ever. Even the villagers who had once laughed at Shadow started to admire him. Amir, however, remained humble. He knew that Shadow's courage was not because of him alone. It came from the horse's hidden strength and spirit. One morning, as the sun rose behind the hills, a letter arrived at Mr. Karim's mansion. A servant brought it to him personally. The letter said that a fire had started in a distant field near the village, and many crops were at risk. Farmers were worried that their hard work for months could be destroyed. Mr. Karim read the letter and frowned. He was concerned about the damage, but he also thought about his own reputation. If the crops were destroyed, it would be a problem for him too. Mr. Karim decided to send someone fast to warn the villagers. Many of his guards tried to prepare horses for the journey, but the roads were rough, and the distance was long. Suddenly, a thought crossed his mind. Perhaps that poor boy with a weak horse could be useful, he said to himself. He called for Amir. When Amir arrived, Mr. Karim looked at him seriously. Amir, he said, I need someone to deliver this message to the distant farm and help the villagers save their crops. I know your horse is small, but perhaps it is faster than it looks. Will you go? Amir looked at Shadow, who stood quietly nearby. The horse's eyes seemed ready, calm but strong. Amir nodded politely. Yes, sir. I will go and do my best to help. Mr. Karim was surprised by Amir's courage. He had given the horse thinking it would cause problems, but now he realized that Amir's calm and determination could be very useful. Amir thanked Mr. Karim and quickly prepared for the journey. He packed some food and water and tied a small bag to Shadow's back. Shadow neighed softly, as if ready for the challenge. The path to the distant farm was long and uneven. There were small hills, muddy paths, and a forest with thick trees. Many villagers would have been afraid to travel alone, but Amir trusted Shadow completely. We can do this, Shadow. Step by step, he said. Shadow moved carefully at first, but soon his legs became faster, and his movements more confident. Amir could feel the power in Shadow's muscles. The horse's strength had grown from care, love, and trust. Along the way, Amir saw small animals in danger. A mother goat was trapped near a small stream, and her kids were bleating loudly. Without hesitation, Amir guided Shadow toward the goat. Carefully, Shadow stepped into the water, and Amir helped the goat cross safely. The kids followed their mother, and Amir patted Shadow proudly. See, Shadow, you are helping everyone. As they continued, the storm clouds that had formed the previous week returned. Rain started falling, and the wind blew strongly. The muddy paths became slippery, but Shadow moved steadily. He lifted his legs high and did not stumble. Amir held the reins tightly and whispered words of encouragement. Shadow's loyalty and bravery were clear. The villagers who watched from afar would have been amazed to see the horse carry Amir safely through difficult conditions. When they reached the farm, the fire had grown larger. The farmers were trying to save their crops, but the fire moved quickly, and many were panicking. Amir quickly assessed the situation. He shouted instructions to the farmers. Use the water from the stream. Protect the crops near the fences. Move the animals to safe areas. Shadow stood calmly nearby, ready to help carry buckets and small tools if needed. The farmers were surprised. They had never seen a boy with a horse work so efficiently. Shadow followed Amir's directions perfectly. He moved buckets of water closer to the fire, and sometimes he carried small sacks of grain to protect them from sparks. Step by step, Amir and Shadow guided the farmers, showing them where to go and how to act safely. Hours passed, and slowly, the fire began to reduce. Smoke filled the air, but thanks to Amir and Shadow, most of the crops and animals were saved. The farmers cheered. They could hardly believe that a small horse, once thought weak, had helped save so much. Shadow neighed happily, and Amir patted his neck. "You are not just brave, Shadow. You are a hero." Word of Amir and Shadow's bravery spread quickly. When they returned to the village, the villagers gathered to see them. People clapped and shouted words of praise. Even those who had laughed at Shadow before now bowed their heads in respect. Amir smiled quietly. He knew that real strength was not in how a horse looked, but in its heart and loyalty. Shadow had shown that clearly. That evening, Amir returned home with Shadow. His parents were waiting, worried but proud. "Amir, you and Shadow have done something amazing," his father said. "I never imagined that horse could be so brave." Amir smiled and hugged his mother. Shadow was always special. He just needed a chance. Amir's little sister, Layla, ran to Shadow and hugged him tightly. "Thank you for saving the animals, Shadow," she said. The horse nuzzled her gently, and Amir laughed softly. He felt that this was only the beginning of many adventures for them. Meanwhile, Mr. Kareem sat in his mansion, thinking about what had happened. He realized that he had underestimated both Amir and Shadow. He had given the horse thinking it would cause trouble, but instead, it had proven courage, strength, and intelligence. Mr. Kareem learned an important lesson. Sometimes, what appears weak can be strong, and true value is not in appearance but in character. From that day on, Amir and Shadow became a symbol in the village. Children wanted to feed Shadow and learn from Amir. Farmers sought Amir's advice on how to care for their animals. Even neighboring villages began to hear stories about the boy and the horse who had saved lives and crops. Amir remained humble and kind. He never boasted about his achievements. He knew that helping others and believing in hidden strength was more important than fame or wealth. Night came, and Amir fed Shadow, placing him gently in the stable. He looked at the stars and smiled. He knew that there would be more challenges ahead, but he was confident. Shadow was not just a horse. He was a true friend, loyal and brave. Amir felt hope in his heart. Together, they could face anything. And so, Amir and Shadow rested under the quiet night sky, ready for whatever the next day would bring. The villagers who had doubted them now understood the power of patience, trust, and belief in someone's hidden strength. Shadow was no longer the worst horse in the village. He was a hero, and Amir was the boy who had believed in him when no one else did. After the fire at the distant farm, Amir and Shadow became well known not just in their village but in neighboring villages as well. People spoke of the boy and the horse who had faced danger and saved crops and animals. Shadow, once called the worst horse, was now admired for his courage and loyalty. Amir, however, remained humble. He treated Shadow gently, fed him carefully, and always spoke to him with kindness. One bright morning, there was an unexpected knock at Amir's door. He opened it to see Mr. Kareem standing outside. The rich man looked serious but calm. Amir bowed politely. "Good morning, sir. How can I help you?" he asked. Shadow nuzzled Amir's hand, sensing that something important was about to happen. Mr. Kareem smiled slightly. "Amir, I have come to see for myself the boy and the horse I once doubted. I have heard stories about your courage and about Shadow. I wanted to see it with my own eyes." Amir nodded and invited Mr. Kareem to walk with them. Shadow stepped forward quietly, calm but proud. They walked to the fields near the village where Amir had often worked with Shadow. Villagers had gathered to watch. Some were curious, some still skeptical, and some were excited to see Mr. Kareem in person. The rich man observed carefully as Amir prepared Shadow for some simple tasks. Amir guided Shadow to pull a plow across the field. Shadow lifted his legs with care and pulled steadily, turning the soil evenly. Even though the horse was not as large or strong as the others in Mr. Kareem's stables, his movements were precise and controlled. Mr. Kareem raised an eyebrow. "Interesting," he said quietly. "I gave you my weakest horse, thinking it would cause you trouble. And yet, here he is, performing as if he were one of the best." Amir smiled gently. "Shadow is brave, sir. He only needed a chance and care. I have learned to trust him, and he trusts me in return. The rich man nodded slowly, understanding the truth in Amir's words. I see, he said. Strength is not always what it seems. Sometimes it is hidden in patience and loyalty. Amir simply smiled. Shadow seemed to sense that Mr. Kareem was beginning to understand him. The horse's eyes were calm and kind, yet there was a quiet power within them. Mr. Kareem asked Amir to show him how Shadow helped during the recent fire. Amir led Mr. Kareem to a section of the field where some charred grass remained. This is where Shadow and I guided the villagers to save the crops, Amir explained. He carried water, helped move animals, and never hesitated, no matter how dangerous it was. Mr. Kareem looked at Shadow carefully. I must admit, he said, I did not expect this. I thought I had given you the worst horse, yet he became the most reliable and courageous. Amir nodded. Every creature has potential, sir. It only needs someone to believe in it and give it care and respect. Shadow had that chance, and he showed his true strength. Mr. Kareem remained silent for a moment, reflecting. He had always believed that wealth, size, and power determined value. Seeing Amir and Shadow, he realized that true worth came from courage, patience, and loyalty. The villagers watched quietly, feeling proud of Amir and Shadow. Many of them had once laughed at the horse and the boy. Now, they understood that appearances could be deceiving. Even a small, weak horse could become a hero with love and guidance. Many whispered to each other, Mr. Kareem is learning a lesson today, just as we have learned it. To show his respect, Mr. Kareem asked Amir to lead Shadow across a small obstacle course he had set up. There were logs to step over, small ditches to cross, and paths that were uneven. Amir guided Shadow carefully. Step by step, the horse crossed each obstacle perfectly. The villagers cheered quietly, impressed by the horse's intelligence and patience. Mr. Kareem smiled, realizing that this horse had more skill and courage than many of the horses he had in his stables. After the demonstration, Mr. Kareem finally spoke. Amir, I must apologize. I doubted both you and Shadow. I thought the horse was useless, and I thought giving him to you would cause trouble. I see now that I was wrong. True value does not lie in size, beauty, or wealth. It lies in courage, loyalty, and care. Amir shook his head gently. No apology is needed, sir. Shadow has always been brave. I only gave him a chance to show it. That is all. The rich man nodded slowly, feeling humbled. For the first time, he realized that power and wealth were not the most important things in life. What mattered most was respect, kindness, and belief in someone else's potential. Shadow, who had once been ignored and laughed at, had changed not just Amir's life but also the heart of the richest man in the village. Mr. Kareem stayed for a while, talking to Amir and watching Shadow. He asked questions about how Amir cared for him, what he fed him, and how he trained him. Amir answered with patience, explaining how daily care, gentle guidance, and trust had strengthened Shadow over time. The rich man listened carefully, realizing that wealth alone could never teach lessons like this. As the sun began to set, Mr. Kareem finally said, Amir, I have learned more from you and Shadow in one day than I have learned in many years. You have shown me that patience, care, and courage are worth more than all my riches. I am grateful. Amir smiled and bowed slightly. Thank you, sir. Shadow has taught me these lessons too. I am just lucky to have him. The villagers who had gathered clapped quietly. They felt proud of Amir and Shadow, but they also felt inspired. They realized that anyone, no matter how small or poor, could show greatness with courage and care. Shadow was no longer just a horse. He had become a teacher of strength, patience, and loyalty. Amir was no longer just a boy. He was a symbol of hope, kindness, and belief in hidden potential. As Mr. Kareem left, he looked back at Shadow and Amir. He felt a deep respect for both. He knew that he had given away what he thought was a useless horse, but in reality, he had given the village a hero and himself a lesson he would never forget. Amir and Shadow waved as the rich man rode away on his own horse, feeling proud that they had proven that courage and loyalty matter more than appearances. That evening, Amir fed Shadow and placed him carefully in the stable. The horse nuzzled his hand, calm and happy. Amir looked out at the village, seeing smiles on the faces of those who had doubted him and Shadow. He knew that their journey was far from over. Many challenges and adventures awaited them, but with patience, courage and trust, Amir and Shadow could face anything together. The night was quiet, the stars twinkling above the village. Amir whispered softly to Shadow, "We have shown them what true strength is, Shadow. But our journey is just beginning. Tomorrow, we will face more adventures, and together, we will grow stronger." Shadow neighed softly in response, as if promising that he would always be by Amir's side. And so, Amir and Shadow rested under the calm night sky, ready for the challenges that would come with the next sunrise. The villagers, inspired by their bravery and kindness, knew that they had witnessed something special. They would remember the boy and the horse who had proven that courage, care, and belief in someone's potential were far more valuable than appearances, wealth, or strength alone. The days after Mr. Kareem's visit were calm but full of small excitement for Amir and Shadow. Villagers often came to see them, not to laugh, but to learn. Children followed Amir, asking him questions about caring for Shadow. Farmers watched quietly, noticing how a gentle touch and patience could bring out the best in a horse. Shadow moved with pride and calmness, now strong and confident from all the care Amir had given him. One morning, Amir received an unexpected invitation from Mr. Kareem. The rich man had invited Amir and Shadow to his main mansion to help him prepare a new project. He wanted to build a large farm that would provide work for many villagers and feed the poor families in the surrounding area. Mr. Kareem had learned that wealth alone was not enough. He wanted guidance from someone who understood care, loyalty, and hard work. Amir felt honored but also cautious. He looked at Shadow and whispered, "Are you ready for a new adventure, friend?" Shadow neighed softly, and Amir smiled. Together, they set off to the mansion, carrying a small bag with supplies for the horse and some tools for work. When they arrived, Mr. Kareem greeted them warmly. "Amir, I have learned so much from you and Shadow. I want your help to show the people of our villages that care and kindness can achieve more than wealth alone." Amir bowed politely. "I will do my best, sir," he said. Shadow stood nearby, calm and attentive, as if ready for the task ahead. Mr. Kareem led Amir and Shadow through his large fields. There were many horses, strong and beautiful, but he watched as Shadow moved carefully beside Amir. "Your horse is still the smallest," Mr. Kareem said quietly, "but I now see that size is not what matters. Courage, patience, and loyalty are what make a creature truly great." Amir nodded. "Shadow has always had those qualities. I only gave him a chance." Over the next weeks, Amir and Shadow helped organize the new farm. They worked with the villagers, showing them how to care for the animals, how to prepare the fields, and how to work together as a team. Shadow became a teacher in his own way. Children learned to feed him properly, farmers learned to respect his movements, and everyone saw that even the smallest or weakest-looking creature could achieve greatness with patience and care. One afternoon, while working near a pond on the new farm, Amir noticed a small child who had wandered too close to the water. The ground was slippery, and the child had lost his balance. Amir shouted, "Watch out!" Shadow responded immediately. He stepped carefully into the wet grass, moving closer to the child. Amir guided Shadow to gently carry the child away from danger. The villagers nearby were amazed. Shadow had saved the child without fear, proving once again that courage and loyalty were far more important than appearance or size. Word spread quickly. Neighboring villages sent people to see the boy and the horse who had saved crops, animals, and even children. Mr. Kareem smiled quietly, realizing that his gift of a weak horse had grown into a symbol of hope, courage, and loyalty. He felt proud but also humble, understanding that sometimes the smallest act of kindness could lead to the greatest lessons. One evening, after a long day of work, Amir fed Shadow and placed him gently in the stable. The horse nuzzled Amir's hand, calm and happy. Amir's parents and little sister, Layla, came to see him. "Amir, "We are proud of you," his father said. "And Shadow has become a true hero in the village." Layla hugged the horse, and Amir smiled warmly. "Shadow has always been brave. I just gave him the chance to show it." The next morning, a small festival was held in the village to celebrate the efforts of Amir and Shadow. Villagers brought food, flowers, and gifts to show their respect. Children decorated Shadow with bright ribbons, and farmers offered him fresh hay and apples. Even Mr. Karim attended, bringing his best horses to honor the courage and loyalty of Amir's horse. The villagers cheered, clapping and shouting in joy. Shadow stood calmly, accepting the admiration with gentle pride. During the festival, Mr. Karim called Amir aside. "Amir, I have learned a very important lesson from you and Shadow. Wealth, power, and size are not what make someone valuable. True worth comes from patience, courage, kindness, and loyalty. You have taught me something that I will never forget." Amir bowed politely. "Thank you, sir. Shadow has taught me these lessons as well. Together, we learned that care and trust can bring out the best in anyone." The festival continued late into the evening. Villagers shared stories of Shadow's bravery and Amir's kindness. They laughed, sang songs, and celebrated the boy and the horse who had changed their village. The children ran around Shadow, feeding him apples and carrots, while adults discussed the lessons they had learned. Amir watched silently, feeling happy and proud, but he never boasted. He knew that true happiness came from helping others, not from praise. As night fell, Amir walked Shadow back to the stable. He fed him, brushed his coat, and tied a soft rope around his neck to keep him safe. "Good night, Shadow," Amir whispered. "You have shown the village that appearances can be deceiving. You have shown courage, patience, and loyalty. You are more than a horse. You are a hero and a friend." Shadow nuzzled Amir gently, as if understanding every word. Amir looked at the stars twinkling above the village. He felt calm and grateful. The journey that began with a weak horse had brought him more than he could have imagined. He had gained respect, admiration, and the friendship of a loyal companion. Shadow had taught him about patience, trust, and belief in hidden strength. Together, they had shown that true power lies not in wealth, size, or appearance, but in courage, care, and kindness. From that day on, Amir and Shadow continued to work in the fields, help villagers, and protect the animals. People visited from far and wide to learn from them. The boy who once had little and the horse once called weak had become symbols of hope and bravery. Even Mr. Karim visited often, seeking advice and learning from Amir's kindness and patience. He had been humbled and inspired, understanding that the greatest lessons often come from the most unexpected places. Amir and Shadow rested peacefully each night under the quiet sky, knowing that whatever challenges came their way, they would face them together. The villagers would always remember the boy and the horse who taught them that appearances could be deceiving, that patience and care could transform the weakest into the strongest, and that courage and loyalty are the true measure of greatness. And so, Amir and Shadow's story became a legend in the valley. The boy who had believed in a worse horse had changed the lives of everyone around him, proving that sometimes the greatest treasures are not gold or wealth, but love, courage, and faith in the unseen strength within others.